Tesla is one of the most talked about electric car companies. With 4 fully electric models, they are in the forefront of innovation in the automobile industry. Because of their exposure, they are quickly becoming some of the most popular cars as well. Today I will break down how I bought a Tesla Model 3 at age 26. No, I am not some child prodigy who could afford it by 18, but I am someone who is very financially literate and who's really good at saving money. Now, what I'm going to share with you today is not sexy by any means, and it's something that you are also going to be able to do as well. But this is not a get-rich scenario, and this does take time. So let's start from the beginning. I went to an in-state college where I got my BS in fashion and textile design. I was very fortunate and I applied to every single scholarship I could possibly find, and I ended up getting 80% of my college paid for. So then with the rest of the money, I had about $10,000 that I needed then to cover because of just housing expenses and just living expenses over the 4 years. And so that ended up being about 10 grand, and my parents paid a couple thousand, I paid a couple thousand, and now I have 5,000 left. So these have been deferred because I was in grad school and now I have finished grad school, and because of the Biden administration, they are still deferred. So with that, I can actually pay them off at any time. I just have chosen not to yet, and I will definitely, as soon as they start accruing interest again, I will definitely pay them off. But they're just sitting there just because there's no need really to touch them at this point. With very little college debt, I really set myself up for success after college. So I packed up my things and I moved to New Jersey for my first job. Now, when I was looking for an apartment, there were a few options, but I ended up going with the cheapest but safest thing I could find, and the place didn't even have central heating and air. It was less than ideal. I would never choose to live in this place, but I did because I wanted to save the most money that I can, and that was a sacrifice that I was willing to make. At the time, I lived in a suburban area of New Jersey, very family-oriented, and I had just gotten out of college. So the things that I was interested in, like going to bars and meeting people my age, just didn't exist. So I just didn't do it. I was able to save a ton of money because there's really nothing to do around. Yes, New York City was an hour away, but it was still an hour, and I would go there occasionally to meet up with friends, but I really was just saving money at that point in order to start building my financial foundation. At that point, I was saving at least 50% of my income, and by the end of the first year, I had saved over $12,000. Something that was very important to me was creating a solid financial foundation for myself, and I was able to do that just based on saving a ton of money. But I remember thinking to myself, with this kind of salary, this is so slow, and I just kept thinking, how the heck can I make some more money? And this was just something that I promised myself, was that I would never worry about money again, and I needed to be able to get myself to that place that I wouldn't have to worry about money again. And so instead of choosing bars and buying things, I chose financial stability, and I chose to live minimally in order to get me to where I am today. I stayed at my first job a year and 4 months, and then I moved to take my second job, which was in North Carolina. At that point, I knew that I couldn't stay in New Jersey because of the high prices, and at that point, I just wasn't able to save enough money. So I was able to move to North Carolina. I got a pay raise, of course, with that jump as well. I found an apartment that was cheaper, and I was able to continue my saving. But also, I was able to do things that I really enjoyed, like meeting up with friends and going out to eat. But I still was very cognizant of how much was coming in and how much was coming out. And at that point, I was still able to save 50% of my income. I stayed at my second job a year and 3 months, and then I had this opportunity fall into my lap that honestly I couldn't say no to. So at that point, I got another job, I got another pay raise, and now it's been 5 years since I've graduated college. I am in such a different place than I was 5 years ago, and I've been able to save over 6 digits. This is something that came with a lot of time. 5 years was a long time to live pretty minimally, but because I did that, I now have a solid financial foundation, and I am able to purchase things that are truly important to me. I, of course, don't overspend by any means. I don't go out there and spend money on things that I don't need still, because I'm still not in a place that I should do that. And I really don't know when I ever will be, or if I will be, because that's not really my personality. So I will say that because I was able to live the way I did, I was also able to save to the place I am today. Many of you have asked what I do for a living and how much I make. I am the director of design and merchandising for my company, and I don't feel comfortable telling you guys how much I make just because I don't think that is fair to my coworkers and my employees. So I will not explicitly say a number, but today I will show you a breakdown of my income and my expenses and where all the money comes in and out. This is a 1-month breakdown of where my money goes. You can see that my savings include my investment portfolio, 401k, and Roth IRA for a total savings of 64% of my monthly income. Now keep in mind that this does not include my husband's income. Now I've got a ton of comments saying that Tom must be my sugar daddy, and while I hate to disappoint, Tom is definitely not my sugar daddy by any means. He is just a normal guy who has a really good job, and we both are saving our money in order to help build our wealth. In October of 2020, my husband Tom and I decided that it was time that we could purchase our Tesla. It was because we were able to comfortably afford it in cash, and also we'd have a lot of other money left over. And because of that, we felt like we were at a point where we could actually afford it. And so we did not purchase this car in cash. So if you're interested in the reason why we didn't actually pay for it in cash, you'll definitely want to check out my how much I paid for my Tesla Model 3 video. I will link it above and in the description down below. At the end of the day, saving and spending is something that you can control. And if your salary is low, it is so hard to save money, and I know that from personal experience. So at the end of the day, the only thing that you can do if you do have a low salary is make more money. And you just need to find ways to be creative in your field in order to make more. And that is the only way you're ever going to be able to save more, because at some point you're going to cap out and only be able to save up to a certain amount. Now, money isn't everything, and if you are financially happy, then this doesn't apply to you at all. This only applies to the people who are not financially content. If you are someone who is not financially content, here is my advice to you. Now, the first thing is create a budget. You need to know all of the money coming in, but more importantly, you need to know all of the money going out. And I have done this before in the past where I'm like, oh, I bought this item, yeah, I'm just trying to block it from my memory and not even think about how much I just spent on that item. But that is not the right way to do it. And especially if you're trying to be financially cautious, then you definitely need to know and have that accountability on yourself that, hey, I just purchased this item. Should I have done that? Was that financially responsible? And you need to take responsibility for all of the purchases in your life. When you create a budget, it also shows where you might be able to improve on your budget. So let's say your phone bill is $120 some. Well, that seems kind of high. So why don't I go shop around and see if I can get a cheaper phone bill somewhere else? Maybe I'll go to Spectrum Mobile for $14 a gig every month. So it really just allows that transparency for you then to be able to make the best decisions for you and for what your financial goals are. Number 2, create a Roth IRA ASAP. Time and compound interest are your best friends. The final thing is to watch YouTube videos and read books about finance. This is something that helped me get into the financial world and just become more financially literate. I started with books, but you can also start with YouTube videos. I definitely suggest Dave Ramsey for those of you who are new to your financial journey. Dave Ramsey is for the masses, and he is just a great place to start. As you advance further, you can find other YouTubers as well that might also have different perspectives than Dave Ramsey. Someone like Graham Stephan, who I personally watch almost every single day. A book too that I definitely suggest would be Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you haven't read it, it is a very interesting perspective on the wealthy and the two different perspectives of the wealthy versus the poor. And this just was a really great start to my financial journey myself and just got me excited about it. So I definitely suggest you read that book as well. Only you can control your finances, but by saving and expanding my financial knowledge, I have been able to lead myself into a financially secure position. The last 5 years haven't been easy and they haven't been comfortable, but I had to make sacrifices here in order to get to the place where I am today. And that is something that I don't regret and I would do over in a heartbeat. If you want to learn more about personal finance or Tesla, I make videos every Thursday and Saturday. Also, if you found this information useful, please give me a like down below, as that really helps out my channel. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.